All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Dark Spirits, Dark Sports podcast. NFL Week 2 is officially in the books. One way you know that the NFL season has started, I think I'm going to call this the injury report. 98 here has his first football injury of the season that he got in practice. Looks like it's a toe sprain. You want to talk a little bit about that?
No, I don't. Let's just move on.
You don't. All right, so we're going to, last week we gave our picks for Ravens and Chiefs, Green Bay, Eagles, and Pittsburgh and Atlanta. So for this week, we're going to talk about those three games as well as give our prediction for the Thursday game this week on Amazon Thursday Night Football, which is Buffalo at Miami. Okay, Ravens at Chiefs. So when we did our picks last week, if I remember right, 98 had picked. Who'd you pick?
I picked the Ravens.
Oh, okay. We both picked the Ravens. So, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You do it. I'll build off of what you say.
Okay, so this was also the same night as 98's scrimmage. They dominated, so we got back a little bit late. We didn't get a chance to see the whole thing, but we did see the highlight. Coming into this game, I was saying that I think that this is kind of like a revenge game because this was the rematch of the AFC Championship game, and one of the things that happened in that game for the AFC Championship is that they didn't really run Lamar around as much as they should have. If you look, I looked at the stat line in this game. Lamar Jackson went 16 rushing attempts for 122 yards. Derrick Henry had 13 attempts for 46 yards,
which is
and one touchdown.
Kind of crazy when you think about it. Like you got a running back that's had, I think, is it 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and you only give him the ball 13, 16 times.
Yeah, so I think what this was is that the Ravens got a lot of criticism from that AFC Championship game saying, why didn't you run Lamar? Why didn't you run Lamar? You got the most dynamic quarterback, blah, 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 blah. So this time they were like, they put that to rest. They definitely ran Lamar. Nobody's going to be able to, they probably thought, we're going to die with Lamar in this game. We're going to run him to death, and that's what they did.
The Chiefs defense figured out what was happening. It took like only a couple plays for them to pretty much instantly shut down the rushing attack.
Yeah.
For most of the game, apparently.
Yeah. Baltimore should have won this game. Lamar at the end, he had this. Somebody was wide open in the end zone and he missed. We knew this was going to be close because this game came down literally to like one toe. Ironic because you have a toe injury.
No, let's move on.
It came down to one toe forcing overtime. If he would have had that toe a little bit in, it would have went to overtime. But
I still believe that was a catch.
Yeah. Lamar said too.
I believe that it was a catch.
Lamar said he still thinks it was a catch.
Because when you have cleats on, there's like this little bit of the cleat that overhangs a bit, and I think that's the part that went out of bounds.
Yep.
Technically, that part didn't touch the floor or didn't touch the ground, so.
It didn't, but they consider that equipment, and if that's part of your part of your body.
Yep.
It's part of your body. But yeah, man, the Chiefs did a good job and pulled out that win. They had what I think is a worse roster than Baltimore. But yeah, hey, championship teams find ways to win. They got it done.
Patrick Mahomes did Mahomes things.
He did. So that's our wrap. Ravens at Chiefs. Next, we're going to talk about Green Bay at Eagles.
Oh my goodness. First off, let's talk about the glaring problem. The defense let up, I think it was 32 points. That is a high school football game score. 32 to 38. That is ridiculous for an NFL game.
Mm-hmm.
There was only two players that I saw on the Eagles defense that were doing their job. Well, 3 technically that were doing their job and doing it well. That was Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, and I saw Reed Blankenship also doing very good. That interception was very, very valuable. I think if we didn't get that, we might have lost because that kind of like switched the momentum. But that, and also the offensive line went from being one of the best in the league to think being in like the middle of the pack without Jason Kelsey. I feel like we definitely underestimated how much him leaving would hit the offensive line, but you know, that's the thing. But on offense, Saquon Barkley, what do you think of him?
Think he had a good game.
A hat trick, 2 rushing, 1 receiving. Saquon, he didn't rely on his agility much this game either.
No, this is
Most
more
of the
just
time,
power.
this was a power game.
This is power. He had a couple good like receptions also, but I mean that's why they got him for that RPO, which is what I said last week when we talked. I said I thought they were going to be able to do some RPO stuff.
When people think Saquon, they think like jukes or spins or like faking people out. They don't really think of him just straight up running through you. But that's what you get when you sign a running back that can squat like 550.
Okay, well, my take, watching the game when the game started, I mean, Jalen had me nervous. He threw an interception and just looked off. Also, I mean, I remember the field conditions. They were having problems with
Everybody
their cleats and
slipping.
stuff. So it kind of had me nervous, and Jalen was looking kind of suspect. But like I said in my preview of the game, I just thought that Philadelphia had too many weapons, too many offensive weapons for Green Bay. And I think that's what ended up. The cream always rises to the top. I feel bad about Jordan Love and that sprain he had or whatever. But hey, both teams had to play on the same field, right? So everybody had to go through the same thing.
I mean, especially from watching the game, I knew someone was gonna get hurt.
It just seemed like it, the way that they were slipping around. But I think both teams showed very good defense. I mean, I think the Green Bay offense was better than I thought it was going to be. Both teams showed good defense. I think it was a very good game back and forth. But yeah, Eagles will take the win. Next game for the Eagles is at Lincoln Financial Field. And guess who's coming to town? Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons.
Ooh, speaking of which, let's move on to the next game.
Yep.
Which is Falcons versus Pittsburgh.
Okay, so the final game we forecasted was Pittsburgh at Atlanta. On this one, right, I think I picked Pittsburgh and you picked Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I picked Pittsburgh because I was saying like Russell Wilson and the Steelers, I think they had more to prove. It would be like, I think they had more to prove than the Falcons. Like the Falcons were like expected to win, but anytime you got a team like that who is like, we're supposed to lose this game. Anyway, it turned out Russell Wilson didn't even play. They had Justin Fields, who is a person who has even more to prove. So
he's trying to prove that he's not a bust.
He's trying to, and like we both said last week, this is going to be a boring game, and it was. It was a boring game. Most of the scores were kicks. Kirk was a little bit rusty, as you would expect. I'm not really that worried about that. But the main thing I noticed was that like his offensive line didn't really protect him.
No, and also you have to remember that Kirk he's an old quarterback.
Yeah,
he's an old quarterback coming off of an ACL tear, I think it was.
Yeah. Or was it Achilles? It might have been Achilles.
I don't know. Especially if you got an old quarterback like that, because it's pretty obvious that either right now the Falcons are either in win now mode or they're in let's just be good, not be great. I don't know which one they're picking right now because they signed statistically one of the best quarterbacks of all time to like a record deal.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, that draft move kind of signaled that they're content with it resulting in like maybe a playoff berth every once in a while.
Yeah, they got Penix waiting in the wings in case Kirk doesn't look like the guy. But I'm not worried about Cousins. I think the offensive line didn't protect him and he was a little bit rusty. Unfortunately, like we just said, their next game they have to play at Philadelphia. We got 2 bird teams. We got Eagles and Falcons. Of course, I'm going for the Eagles win at home on this. I think it's going to be competitive. I don't think it's going to be a blowout because now Kirk Cousins, like, he doesn't want to start the Falcons 0-2. It's going to be a competitive game, but I'm going to take the Eagles for the win on that.
I'm going to take the Eagles. Like what you said last week, I think that the amount of offensive weapons we have is just going to overpower the Falcons' defense.
All right, so final segment is going to be our prediction for Amazon Thursday Night Football. which is going to be Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins. Buffalo had a win over Arizona, which I didn't think was going to be that close, but it counts. Josh Allen put the team on his back. Miami got their win also. They're in the same division. These are two teams that are very competitive over the last two seasons. And even though it's only week 2, this is going to be a battle of a game. I feel like Miami is going to win this one. Here's why. Buffalo Bills lost a lot of key players on their team. And it kind of showed by how Arizona was able to get momentum on them. Now, I understand that there was a special teams return, but I just felt like this wasn't the same Buffalo team that I was used to seeing. They don't have Von Miller. Greg Rousseau stepped up. They don't have Diggs. I just don't think.
Keon Coleman really took the place of Stephon Diggs, I feel.
Okay. Yeah, so I just think that going into Miami got this win, which I think Jacksonville should have won that game. Jacksonville messed that game up. But anyway, it counts. So Buffalo is 1-0. Miami is 1-0. They're in the same division. I think I would usually pick Josh Allen, but I think that the Dolphins have more offensive weapons. I think the Dolphins' defense is just as good, if not better, right now than the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we only have 1 week to look at, but I mean, if we have to make a prediction, I'm going to go Miami on this one.
Long as Tyreek Hill doesn't get arrested again.
He does. Or as long as Tyreek and some of the other offensive players don't get detained before the game, I think this is going to be a win. So I think we're both going for that one.
Yeah, I feel like Buffalo is really just not the same like they were. I mean, they got some young guys stepping up. Dalton Kincaid, I like what you said, Greg Rousseau. They've got Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman. All of those guys are good, but they're not bringing Buffalo up to what it once was.
Yeah, I think that they're not as good as those seasoned guys that are on Miami. Jalen Phillips.
Jalen Waddle.
We already said that we think Buffalo both, so we'll take the pick on that. All right, so recap. We talked about Ravens at Chiefs, Green Bay at Eagles, Pittsburgh and Atlanta, and Amazon Thursday Night Football. We're both picking the Miami Dolphins to win. So listen in next week. Find out if we were right, if we were wrong. Hopefully 98's toe will be feeling better. You got anything you want to say before we sign off?
I feel like it'd be kind of funny if Tyreek got arrested again. That's pretty much it.
Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.